Okay. Okay, so we have Denise is using a ladder to clean the outside of her second-story windows. The ladder she is using is 24 feet long, and she puts the base of the ladder 13 feet away from the house in order to avoid her flower gardens. How high up the side of her house, how high up the side of her house does the ladder reach? Round to the nearest tenth and necessary. Okay, so I need you to follow along with what I'm doing. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to underline important information that I need. So we're talking about a ladder that is 24 feet long. And she is putting the ladder from the base of the ladder is 13 feet away from the house because she wants to avoid her flower garden. And we want to know how high up the side of her house does the ladder reach. Okay? Well, we're talking about a house, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a house. Doesn't have to be beautiful. We have a house. And then we have a ladder, okay? So the ladder is 13 feet away from the house. And the ladder is leaning up against the house. So here's our ladder. And then from the bottom of the ladder to the edge of the house is our base, right? Because that's where the flower garden is. You don't have to draw little flowers, but there you go. That's where your flower garden is. Okay? So the ladder is 24 feet long. So we're going to label the ladder as 24 feet long. Okay? And the distance from the bottom of the ladder to the edge of the house is 13 feet. Okay? Now I need to do some labeling so I can find my sides. So this right here is my right angle. Directly across from my right angle is C. This could be labeled as A, and this is labeled as B. We want to know the height. How far the ladder is up on the house is going to be A. Okay? Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. So we know that we don't know what A is. We know that B is 13 feet. And we know that C is 24 feet. So now we have to put this in our formula, which is A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So we have A squared plus B squared, which is 13 squared, equals C squared, which is 24 squared. Okay? So now we have to square everything. 13 squared is 169. And then we have 24 squared, which is 576. Okay, so now I'm looking for a missing leg, so I have to subtract. And I'm going to subtract 169 from 576 because I want to get this away from A. Isolate A. So I end up with A squared equals 576 minus 169, which is 400. Now I want to find the square root of 407, and that gives me what? 20.2. Okay? And it's 20.2 feet. Make sure you label it. Okay? Does anybody have questions about that? Okay, so a rectangular pool at Andy's gym measures 25 meters by 50 meters. How many meters would Andy need to swim in order to swim diagonally across the pool? So what information up there is important for me to know? Sam?
25 meters and 50 meters.
Okay. What else do I need to know? That it's rectangular. So that tells me what shape it is, right? And what am I looking for?
How many meters would Amy need to swim in order to swim diagonally?
So we want to know what it is diagonally across the pool, right? Can anybody guess what they think diagonal, what leg that's going to be?
C.
C, yeah. Because C is on a diagonal. So because when you draw the triangle, C is always the diagonal. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw our triangle.
Rectangle.
I'm sorry, rectangle. I don't know why I said triangle. Our rectangle. And then we're going to label it. So it's 25 by 50. So I'm guessing the long side is 50. And then we have 25. And we want to know what if he swims directly across, what it is. So my right angle, you have either one, it doesn't matter. Okay? So directly across from my right angle is what?
The hypotenuse.
Right, C, the hypotenuse. Do we know what C is? No, that's what we're looking for. Because we know what A and we know what B is. So we can say A is 25, B is 50, and C is you don't know. So we're going to set that up into the equation. And that's what? How would we write that down? 25 squared plus 50 squared equals C squared. Okay. So 25 squared gives us what? 625. Plus 50 squared gives us what?
2,500.
When we add 625 to 2,500, we get what?
You mean subtract?
No, we add when we want to find C. Huh? 3,125. So we need to find the square root of 3,125. 56, what?
Oh, it's just 56. 55.9.
Oh, 55.9, okay. This one didn't say to round to the nearest tenth, did it? So you just leave it alone at 55.9. Okay, so we're going to have 14 square plus b square equals 17 square. Now, if you labeled b as a and a as b, that's fine. So somebody tell me what 14 squared is.
196.
So 196 plus b squared equals 17 squared, which is
280.
So am I going to add or subtract? Subtract. We're subtracting because we're looking for one of the legs. And let me tell you something else. Somebody in my last class did this. You're never going to get a negative. You're never going to get a negative because you can't have negative height, can you? Okay? So b squared equals, so 289 minus 196 is 93. And the square root of 93 is... So, Will ran the diagonal distance across a square field measuring 40 yards on each side. James ran the diagonal distance across a rectangular field with a length of 25 yards and a width of 35 yards. Who ran a longer distance? Show work to prove your answer. So we have two things. We have to find the diagonal on two problems, right? And then we have to compare them. So what is important about Will?
They ran across the field 40 yards.
No, well, it says he ran the diagonal distance across a square field, right? That measures 40 yards. So the square field, how much does it measure?
40 yards.
40 yards. And if it's square, is it 40 yards on all four sides?
Yeah.
And it says that he ran the diagonal distance, which is what?
Right from corner to corner.
Which is what leg?
C.
C. So I'm going to go ahead and put C there. So I'm going to draw a square. We know that a square measures the same on all sides. So we have 40 yards, 40, 40, and 40. And we're looking for the diagonal. Okay, that's him running across the diagonal. So I have my right angle. There's two right angles, right? But I only need one, right?
Right.
So directly across from my right angle is C, and that's what I'm looking for. So we know the A, and we're going to label B. We labeled A and B and C. So A is 40 squared plus B is 40 squared equals C squared. That's what we're looking for. So 40 squared is 1,600. So when I add, am I going to add these together to find C? Yeah, so 1,600 plus 1,600 gives me
3,000.
okay, so the square root of 3,200 is what? $56 point what? So the square root of 3,200 is 56.6. So we found Will's information, right? So this is Will. So now we need to find James. So we're going to compare these. So James ran across a rectangular field. And that rectangular field measured 25 yards and 35 yards. And he ran the diagonal distance again. So the length is 25 yards. The width is 35 yards. And James ran the diagonal distance. Once again, the diagonal distance is what letter? C. This is directly across from the right angle. And then we label everything A and B. Yes, sir?
How does that make sense that 25's higher?
It doesn't, but that's what it says, that 25, it says the length is 25. But in the grand scheme of things, Blake, does A and B matter? No. So we have 35 square plus 25 square equals C square. So 35 squared is what? What is 35 squared?
1,225.
And what is 25 squared? So if I add 1,225 to 625, I get what? 1,800 and what?
50.
So I want to find the square root of 1,850, and I get 43. So who ran the furthest?
Will.
Will. So Will ran further than James. Okay, so that one you had to compare, right? I would, if I was a good guesser, I would say that there's going to be a lot of comparing on the TN Ready test. Okay. Okay, so Jimmy thinks a window frame in his house looks slanted because the corner doesn't appear to be 90-degree angle. His wife thinks that it looks just fine. They measured the window to check and found the width up to be 25 inches, the height to be 36 inches, and the diagonal distance to be 45 inches. Who is correct? So what are they giving us here? Are they giving us all sides, aren't they? So we have to figure out which one is what? What is the first side we need to find? The hypotenuse. And how do we determine which is the hypotenuse? The longest side, right? So which one in the longest side is going to be which number?
45 inches.
Which is the biggest number, yes. So I'm going to go ahead and just label these. I'm going to label that as C, and then I'm going to label 25 inches as A, and I'm going to label 36 inches as B. And I'm basically proving that this is a right angle, right? So I'm going to put these in my formula where I have 25 square plus 36 square equals 45 square. So 25 squared is a still thing, it's 625.
Yeah.
36 squared is
1,296.
and 45 squared is
2,025.
2025. So when I add 625 plus 1296, I get what? 1,296 plus 625.
1,920.
Does that equal 2,025? No. So who's right?
Jimmy.
Jimmy is correct. Any questions? Okay, so I want you to do the last one on your own. It's the same way. It's giving you 3 pieces of information. You're basically proving a right triangle. Okay, so somebody tell me which one is C. 10 feet. Does A and B matter? No. So we can label 7 feet as A and 8 feet as B. So we have 7 square plus 8 square equals 10 square. Which 7 squared is 49, 8 squared is 64, 10 squared is 100. So 49 plus 64 is 113. That does not equal 100. So it's not going to be a right triangle, right? Not a right triangle. Okay.